Hello, welcome to the August 28th meeting of the Affordable Housing Trust. We have a quorum. So we're going to get started. First, we have some minutes. Do we have any comments or changes to the minutes?
I'm good with them.
All right.
I move to accept the minutes.
You can second it. I'll second it. I haven't seen. Yes.
We do not, the large crowds we had gathered in the past seem to have dissipated a bit.
Understand.
But however, to the degree anybody has any questions, feel free to, raise your hand, jump in, whatever. All right, so we're going to start with just an update on, I believe that I opened this up.
Construct.
We're going to talk about construct. So I see Sammy Keeling is here. Hi, Sam.
Hi,
How are you?
good.
So you want to walk us through, why don't you do the rent stabilization first?
Okay, yeah, so we are seeking funding for rental assistance in Stockbridge. It's for we mainly focus on serving households who are having some sort of immediate like emergency need, a health issue or job loss or something along those lines. While Construct is an affordable housing agency, we know that it's not just about finding or providing affordable housing. It's also about helping those who currently are housed to keep them housed. Without this assistance, people would be at risk of becoming homeless due to the housing shortage that's going on right now and inflated cost of living. And that is really spanning the entirety of Berkshire County, even into Pittsfield, Adams, North Adams. So there's really limited places for people to go. I did a little research. I can tell you that in Stockbridge, in the past 5 years, we've provided 19 assists, 19 rental assists that served 45 people and 10 landlords.
And how much was that?
What's that?
What was the dollar amount, do you know?
Just under 14,000.
Okay.
In across South Berkshire County, in the past 5 years, we've done 294 assists, serving over 600 people. And that was just under $300,000. That was,
And so far you've had support from Great Barrington, Lee, and Lennox, correct?
Great Barrington, yes, Lee and Lennox, that's correct.
And in terms of, are the rules the same in terms of what the process is for evaluating requests among all the currently participating towns?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
It's pretty standard. Our program director meets with the individual requesting the funding, and she goes through a pretty standard series of questions, essentially a short interview, and has certain specific criteria that they must meet. And then the rent check goes directly to the landlord if approved.
Okay, were Stockbridge to fund this, that assistance goes to support households in Stockbridge?
That's correct.
Okay. And has there been any interest in other towns, Pittsfield South, besides the three existing, and now Stockbridge? Have you seen anything in Sheffield, Egremont, New Marlborough, West Stockbridge?
We had a different program with Sheffield called, we had like a Good Samaritan Fund. That was more in the thick of COVID. I'm not sure if Jane has really worked with any of the other towns on this. To my knowledge, it's mostly been Great Barrington. And then we've gotten some other funding through, sorry, let me just check this out. More like general funding that will span across the across South Berkshire. That was we got a bit of funding from Berkshire Bank, some private donations, and
I have one last question, then I want to open up the rest of the board. If we had folks with means who wanted to support this program, do you accept, restricted donations for a program such as this from an individual or from a local grant maker or anything like that? Obviously, grant makers should do, but can
Yeah.
individuals donate to something like this? A specific program for Stockbridge housing?
That's an interesting question. I think I would have to check with with Hillary on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right,
I honestly don't see why not. I can't think of a reason why not, but just I can check and get back to you on that.
I think Mark has a question.
Hi, how long would be the typical assistance go? How many months or rent checks?
It's just 1 month, one rent check. We provide assistance up to $1,000. And again, we really are, this is not for someone who owes, $5,000 or $6,000 in back rent. This is really we do have other assistance for people who are in that type of situation, but this program is more for someone who has just fallen behind on rent because they had their car broke down, or because their child care is, just these emergent situations that we all face. But if you're living paycheck to paycheck, you might not be able to quite keep up.
And the names of the participants, I assume there's privacy involved because this is personal stuff?
Oh, yeah.
And we don't have access to those names.
No.
That's right. Yeah, just clarifying for the public. I knew that. Yeah. Other questions, Mark? Anybody, feel free to jump in. Nothing, you can, Jan, Bruce, anybody you have questions, let's just have a discussion.
I think that, Sammy, when we spoke before about this, I asked the question about whether you were considering opening this up so it would not be just for rental, but also might be some 1 month support for someone who a young couple that has a mortgage and runs into the same kind of situation.
Absolutely.
And so as I understand from our conversation, you are looking at that and are going to decide at some point in the not too distant future whether to open it up to homeowners as well as rental.
Yes, I think moving forward, and perhaps even with this funding, if it were issued, I think that we do need to start supporting people with mortgages. It's becoming more and more difficult just an example, like an elderly individual who is in a huge house that they're still paying a mortgage on, but they can't afford to, the elderly housing lists are like hundreds of people long, you know what I mean? So there are just different circumstances or a young couple with a mortgage. There are plenty of reasons to provide mortgage assistance, and we've been talking a lot about it lately. And I think it's an important thing to add that to our program.
Jan, can I follow up on your question? Sammy, so if we were to increase the amount that we voted, let's say an extra $10,000 or $15,000, would you consider, with the earmark that was for a pilot program for mortgage assistance for income qualified folks? Is that something that is hard to put together, or is that something that you would allow us to do? Would you allow us to give you a little more money to do what Jan wants?
Yes, absolutely. Yes. And in fact, we were in the process of talking with the Lee CPA about using some of the current funding that we have with them and doing mortgage assistance. So this has been in the works. It's been talked about, but we just haven't. Feels like the time to branch out.
So we exceed the 25 today with a restriction on the additional money for a mortgage pilot program.
Yeah.
And we brought that in, then once you get permission and we work it out with the two legal teams or whatever, that's something that we don't need to have another meeting on that. That's something that we can consider right now.
Absolutely, on our end, yes, absolutely.
Okay. Other questions? Anyone?
How do people find out about this, Sammy?
Good question.
We do some general advertising of it on our social media, and we have a lot of information on our website. A lot of it is word of mouth. I have periodically sent made flyers and shared them with I shared one with the Lennox Affordable Housing Trust to just post on their social media. And we just did a bunch of summer farmers markets, and we have little cards that we hand out. So there are a lot of different ways. We're about to do the Guido's, the change thing at Guido's, and we're going to ask them to put one of our cards that details the rental assistance program on each card, so we can slip one in a grocery bag. Things like
Hopefully
that.
mortgage assistance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you considered having literature at any of the food banks?
That's a great idea. That's a really good idea.
Probably some overlap if they're stressed out, and maybe they could slip it in the bags at the grocery, at the food banks.
Yeah, I think that
How about it-
especially in
first?
towns, what I think we found is that in towns like Stockbridge, Lee, Lennox, we're not as recognized. In Great Barrington, everybody knows Construct, everybody kind of knows what we do. But there is definitely need. There are people in need in some of these smaller towns that I think we do need to bring more awareness to what we have to offer.
How about the transfer station?
Yeah. We only have, because this finance committee is meeting in this room at 6 o'clock, we only have about 45 minutes to 60 more minutes. So I'm going to now take this one and ask the board's opinion. Are there any objections to the rental program and or the mortgage program, assuming that the mortgage program had the same qualifying
Parameter.
parameters that the rental program has? Does anybody think this is a bad idea?
No,
What are the dollar amounts again we're talking
Well,
about?
they asked for 25 for the rental program, and I think we should offer them another 25 for the mortgage program.
Another 25.
I think, Patrick, what we could do is start with the 25, and because a year from now, we can also do that. If you look back at how much has been spent over the last 5 years in Stockbridge, I don't know that we need to do 50 right now. I think we could.
Well, it's just that they did ask us for 25 for the rental program. And I mean,
I think you would start.
I
you would
think-
start
basically saying that, it could be up to $25,000. It doesn't mean that we're going to spend every cent of it. We're just authorizing up to that amount of money, or additional amount of money for the mortgage assistance program. And if it turns out that we only spend 10 or 15,000 of it, so that's all the need that there was. But if we have the money, Patrick, I see no reason why we wouldn't authorize an up, a not to exceed number at this moment.
and maybe we do it in $10,000 tranches. So, once you spend close to 10, Sammy, you come back and you ask for the next, it's pre-authorized. But that way, I think that's actually a really good idea.
One other question. Is this an approved use for CPC funds?
That was my.
well, that our process, we then have to go to
Because
Jen.
all of our funds at this stage are CPC funds, I believe.
We'll answer that question with our council though.
Okay.
Yeah. But you've gotten CPC funds for this in the past, right?
The Great
Well,
Barrington CPC and Lee CPC, that's where the funding comes from.
Except that was for rent, not necessarily for mortgage.
Right. Well, that's why we're
I think we
gonna
just
do
have
them
to
like
clear
we're
that
doing
up.
two separate.
Yeah.
So just clear it up.
Yeah.
All right, yeah.
Okay, all right. Well, then I say we make a motion to authorize 25 and 25 in $10,000 tranches so that the money beyond, so that it takes 3 years to get to 10, then, our money is, still here until we get asked for more and launch the program.
Right, subject to approval.
Subject to
Council.
approval, of course, by town council, right?
All right, so 25 and 25, but the second 25 is in 10,000 tranches or?
No, it's
Oh,
25 and 25 for two separate programs, because the mortgage, as you said, may not be allowable under the rules. This is-
Should we do two separate motions then?
Yeah, let's do a motion to support the 25,000 for Analytical
I
idea.
would second that.
Okay, we have,
All right, so let's do a roll call. Aye, Patrick?
I Liz.
Hi, Mark.
I Coke.
Hi, Bruce.
Jan,
All right,
So
let's do a
that's-
second one, subject to approval by town council and whatever process you go through at Construct. We make a similar motion to provide up to $25,000 in mortgage support.
I'll second
Okay.
All right, roll call. Aye, Patrick?
that. I Liz.
Hi, Mark.
I Coke.
Hi, Bruce.
Jan.
Yep. And so that's great, Sammy. And Sammy, I would just, I think that it would be great if we could do two things. One, as part of this process, encourage these types of donations. If people want to support local folks who maybe are in trouble or going through a hard time, a way to do that would be really great to hear back soon on. And then the second thing is I don't know if we can do mortgage, but that sounds like a really great program that's needed, and sort of, figure out a way to yes on that would be fantastic. Okay, let's move on to the second part, which is the Pinewoods request.
Mhm. So, as we all know, Pinewoods, has some work to do over there. We have some work to do. One of the things is the roofs. They're over 20 years old. And really the goal for us right now is to replace them so that we can move towards solar, move towards just creating like a more modernized sort of way to just stabilize Pinewoods and try to really keep it a long-term affordable housing property in Stockbridge. Doing it 4 roofs at a time makes sense for us. It's financially more feasible than trying to do everything all at once. And so that's our goal right now. That's our next big project.
Thoughts on, first of all, I love the fact that part of the roof project is preparing it for solar.
I was curious because there are a lot of trees around there. Do they actually have the exposure to do solar?
Some of those trees, so I know, I actually
please.
don't,
Just curious.
I don't know a lot about the legal end of removing trees. I know that there is a process, but a lot of those trees and just vegetation needs to be removed. That some trees are unsafe. Well, I don't know. I don't want to say that they're unsafe, but they're, not everything. It's so wet, I guess is what I'm saying. And a lot of that needs to be removed. And with removing it, it really improves we can do solar at Pinewoods. We had an assessment. And by removing some of the trees, doing the solar, it's really going to help to dry or remove some of the moisture from that area, which is what causes a lot of the problems with these buildings. So it's kind of like a full circle. I wish Mike, our property manager were here, because he would be able to talk a little bit more eloquently about the actual property itself. But it is sort of a plan that starts with the roofs so that we can do the solar, so that we can work on the land and plant appropriate, vegetation that will pull the water.
have a good plan for Conservation Commission. Be prepared.
Yeah, they won't be rooting for a lot of trees to get taken out.
And we don't want to just like haphazardly remove trees. That's not the plan at all. It's really just to move forward with pine woods in a more thoughtful way than just trying to like put a Band-Aid on it. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right, no, I get it, and I'm totally in agreement with you. You have to get all your ducks in a row to get this one done.
Yeah.
Can you just refresh us on the costs involved and the time frame and is this going to be done in stages? And
Yeah, so the first phase would be the 4 roofs, and we got a quote for 45,500 for those 4. And let me just take a look. I had a map here of the property. I think that there will be, I think 4 phases. So this would be over the course of, you know, a few years. It's not going to happen all at once, but
Mhm.
I think moving forward with this is the best thing that we can do for Pine Woods. I think it's the best move that we can make in terms of preserving it long term and not just, you know, patching it up.
Right,
so 4 roofs initially and in 4 phases. So what are the total number of roofs eventually? Is it 16 or?
I should have invited Mike to this.
That's all right. I
meeting.
just wanted to.
Sorry. I can get that for you. I think it's somewhere around there. Yeah. Actually, let me just see here.
how many are in each one?
Mhm.
How many are in each building?
Yeah,
I can't remember.
Yeah.
That's
It's
a-
4 phases. So I'm assuming we can say, you know, 15 or 16 roofs.
Okay,
While we have you here, do you have any sense of how the furnaces are doing as we approach the fall? Unrelated question, but still something we are concerned about.
Yeah, we continue to need funding for boilers. It's really difficult to access funding for boilers. So we've been replacing, you know, one at a time. But they all are, you know, all of the old ones are in need of, they need to be replaced.
that was something RCPC didn't want us to
right, we
fund.
can't
That's right.
do that.
But I go back to if there's folks with means out there who want to support, you know, those of modest means in Stockbridge, this is a great opportunity. We tried to support the boilers, we weren't able to, and, you know, and that's where, you know, philanthropy really needs to kind of close the gap these days. You know, government funding is getting harder and harder, so.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I'm sorry.
Does someone want to make a motion on this one, or do you guys want to discuss it?
How much money do we have left? I guess.
I think we have 400,000 and we're not, I mean, we spent, I think, around 20 on Riverbrook, wasn't it? And this is relative, we're still well below 100 in terms of, you know,
I just wanted to know where we
Yeah.
stand. Last I heard it was 2 something. It could be a while ago.
well, I think that we just got the CPC
Right.
award for this year.
Okay,
And you know what, this is what we're here for, you know, it's like, you know.
just checking.
Yeah. Okay.
So just so Sam, give us a summary, what's the total ask on this one? It was
45.
45,500.
45,500.
Anybody have any objections to a motion to support the roofs for 45,500?
500.
All right, move the proposal to appropriate 45,500 for roofs at Pinewoods.
Second. All right, let's do a roll call. Aye, Patrick.
Hi, Liz.
Hi, Mark.
Hi, Coke.
Hi, Jan.
Bruce?
He's trying.
Are you muted, Bruce?
I was on mute. Hi, Bruce.
All right, excellent. All right, thank you so much. Sammy, if you have another 20 minutes or so and you want to listen to the rest of it, I'd love to get your feedback. If you can't, though, I understand.
Yeah, sure. I can stick around.
All right, thank you. Okay, so I think that the next thing on the agenda is, just an update. We're still waiting, it took about a week to get in touch with Jenny. And that was about 2 weeks ago. I did just talk to Michael. We don't have the vetting done yet on the Riverbrook proposal, but he's hoping to have it done in the next, well, soon. That's what he said, soon. So let's not make a commitment. So we'll go through a similar process on this, Sammy, hopefully by the next meeting that we'll get, some feedback from our CPC lawyer at town council. Okay, so what I was thinking I don't want to, for the rest of the meeting, I tried to summarize some of the ideas that we've talked about and one or two new ideas. And this is really a discussion on the agenda for the next couple of meetings. I'd like to maybe get through sort of a summary, make sure I didn't forget anything from you guys, and then sort of have everyone kind of take it home. If the public wants to think about these ideas, I'll be able to watch the tape and come to the next meeting. But I don't want to kind of decide anything on this stuff right now. All I want to do is to just have a conversation. So what I'm going to do is go back to Zoom and share the screen. For those who are not here, let's hit the share button.
Patrick, share the papers.
And to do that, I have to open up.
See.
Got it.
Hold on one second.
Do you have everything there?
Yeah,
Okay. Oh, there it is. Okay.
it's just stapled on the bottom.
Yeah. I just figured that
Okay,
out.
let's see, we're gonna go to Adobe Acrobat. Okay, now we're gonna show this one. Hold on. And I did do a schedule send for the members of the board. You got this proposal at 4:30, so we didn't violate the open meeting law. Let's see, now I'm looking for, yeah, there we go, Zoom, share. All right. Well, no, let's show my passwords. No, let's see.
Come on.
Where is Acrobat? Oh, here it is. Well, let's see. Does that not see anything? There it is. Did that go? No?
That's getting closer.
Well, okay, I don't, do you want to do this?
No,
All right, stop share, let's try it again.
I just take notes.
We know nothing.
We need actually some training.
All right, well, we're gonna give me 1 minute. We still have half an hour, so we're in good shape.
Everybody take a
Short,
deep
short
breath.
tech break here.
Yeah, this is sort of annoying, but it is what it is.
And knows how to do it.
Okay, now let's see. Go back to Zoom. We're gonna hit the share button. And usually it comes up with, oh, there it is. All right, it worked this time.
So,
Hey,
There we go. Let me up the size a little bit. See, I'm good at tech. People tell me.
Eventually.
you did that in 45 seconds. That's pretty
Yeah,
good.
that wasn't bad. All right. Okay, so I just did a sort of a bit of a brain dump. The last page has something that we haven't really talked about before, and I want to spend a little time just kind of making sure everyone understands it. And then, like I said, maybe take a couple weeks, we digest some ideas, we come back and we say where we stand. All right, so, and the first page is kind of just what we've done in the last month or so, is where we obviously, appropriate some money for Riverbrook pending town council. We just talked about that. We had the program for Pine Woods and the roof that we talked about today. I did talk to Andrea today and they have uncovered, I think CPC did some decking that was funded for building A I'm sorry, siding. And there was some rotted decking underneath the siding that has come up and they don't have any money in their capital budget to address that. That is likely in the $10,000 to $20,000 range, and we are likely to have a proposal at the next meeting. similar to what Sammy did with the roofs. And what the Riverbrook folks did at the last meeting. So that's kind of existing development. Now, second one, once again, is just a rehab. And that is really just looking at the proposal today for a rental that we actually enhanced, looking at perhaps some mortgage support too. So I think that's a great start in terms of really supporting folks who currently live here. The last three are kind of what's going on out there now. Now, obviously, we spent a lot of time evaluating Glendale Middle Road, and for a number of reasons, it was not optimal for either a large development or a small development. The large development, there really wasn't access to frontage, and a small development, there it wouldn't perk. So that said, that doesn't mean that we don't have some options there. And in fact, Mohammed Zabian reached out to me, called me on Monday, said just wanted an update. And so I told him that the state was a little bit behind in the seasonal communities regulations, and that it might be another month or two before we knew what the mandates would be and that we could then potentially take to town meeting. Obviously, the select board is going to determine whether or not there is a special town meeting when those regulations come out, or whether it's next May. I am hoping that we get an answer sooner rather than later. I believe that that's a program that was largely put in place for the Cape. And I think that there's an opportunity to be the token Berkshire town. And then that's why I think kind of getting out there sooner first is really important in the context of most of the money is going to end up at the Cape, not in the Berkshires. So I explained it to him. He said, great, just give me a call and let him know.
Just for the record,
Yep.
Mr. Zabian's the owner of the industrial park.
The industrial park. That's
He's interested in developing some housing there, so.
Oh, right. Go to the next slide. Sorry. Okay.
Airport.
Yep.
Okay.
It used to be Michael sitting here doing this kind of stuff. I'm mere mortal, I guess.
Yeah.
All right. So, we had talked about other sites. I think that other sites in the landscape really go together. I think frankly, the chance of us doing something at scale like this, a mixed use development is much greater if the town decides to do seasonal communities. They may not. So I think that for our board that sort of focus on getting the answers to Mohammed as we get them is kind of enough for now. I think that with federal funding challenges, I think that state funding is most likely in the context of seasonal communities or something like this. I mean, there's certainly the state programs that, there is some money appropriated with the General Affordable Homes Act, but that's gotten increasingly more competitive.
Do you know what he's talking about? Since folks new here.
Yeah.
Do you know what he's
Some of
talking
it.
about? Can you explain it a little bit?
No, like Affordable Homes Act passed last year, it included, I think, $4 billion, several $1 billion in funding. That funding, is 351 municipalities. It's in buckets, some for this, some for that. One of the buckets is going to be seasonal communities. Seasonal communities is a new shiny thing. Seasonal communities comes with some benefits, such as the ability to preference, at least with some of the units, municipal workers, the ability to preference, at least with some of the units, cultural workers, artist type housing. It does potentially come with some mandates, tiny homes, undersized lots. The kind of economics question I have is, at 75 to 100,000 an acre, who's going to build a 400 square foot tiny house, and what in our bylaws prevents them from doing it now? And my second observation would be where an undersized lot requires a deed restriction, who's going to spend $450 a foot, or even to build a 1,400 square foot house, maybe $500,000. Man, if I was going to spend that and spend $75,000 for the first acre, and I was in R2, I'd spend the extra $75,000 so I could sell it forever to whoever I wanted, rather than have a deed restriction that says you only sell it to a local. My point is, I don't think that the economics of the mandates make any sense whatsoever. So I'm not that concerned about them, but that said, it's going to be up to the voters, not up to me. You know, so but the point is that to do anything big is going to require, obviously, funding from a larger government entity. The federal landscape isn't great. The state landscape is maybe better with seasonal communities. This is, in my opinion, in a holding pattern.
And what is Mohammed looking for?
What is he looking for?
Well, yeah.
At this point, just information, you know, he just wants to, look, he's, I don't want to speak for him, but he sent us a letter in April that said, you know, his interest in doing this is tied to his desire to help municipal workers and school district workers for Lee and for Stockbridge.
Right, and that's what I wanted to do.
You know, Lee, Stockbridge and Berkshire Hills. You know, that's it's his land. That's what he wants to do,
Right,
you know?
now
Yeah.
she's up to date.
Right,
Great.
which is on this.
Great.
Okay. All right, so for smaller footprint construction, you know, there are some things that we could start to, kind of think through, which would be now that accessory dwelling units are by right. There's both, potential subsidies, there's actual dollar subsidies the town could do, but there's also tax subsidy. Part of this new law is the ability, if you were to, for example, build an ADU and that represented 25% of your assessed value, then if you agree to rent it, or you are renting it below a threshold that the town sets, Egremont did this, then you actually get a credit for 25% of your taxes. So it's a really inexpensive way to drive potential, rental housing. You could do it in a spare bedroom in your house. You could do it with a roommate in your house. You could, I don't know the specifics of the law, but Egremont adopted this. So there's potential that we could do, in effect, down payment assistance if someone were willing to, for X number of years, restrict that rental below a certain amount, and that might help us, encourage some people to build something like an accessory dwelling unit for that purpose, or rent part of their house for that purpose.
Yeah, I have a comment on this because I think this is a good way to leverage this ADU mandate from the state, because we are not going to come up with a big bundle of money to develop a lot of stuff ourselves.
Right.
So if we become sort of a partner or give financial incentives for the private sector for a homeowner to build the ADU, then you basically are getting money that, comes from the general public, from homeowners, from people who could invest. We could provide a small amount of money to help incentivize that.
Yeah.
And it might be a way to get more units of housing done because we can't even buy one house.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
As we are now.
Yep, and that's right. I think we can advocate for things like this tax exemption, if you rent affordably, as a way to kind of say, look, rather than spend $600,000 of taxpayer money, and it's, whether it's federal, state, or local, we pay taxes at all those levels. If we could spend, if someone's paying a $6,000 tax bill and they get a $1,500 credit, it's a nice way to create an incentive that costs the rest of us almost nothing, So I think that we certainly could look at evaluating undersized lots and tiny homes for rentals. Once again, I think as Mark has just pointed out, even a tiny home might cost $100,000, $150,000. Even an ADU might cost $300,000 unless even one of the bigger developments that this town's ever seen, DeSisto, is generating by the time it's done, if he builds the whole thing, $575,000, which is around what it would cost to build one house right now.
By then,
So-
it might be not even nothing.
Yeah, that's right. And I think that these are all kind of the questions that we have in terms of preferences on seasonal communities. Is there a preference for cultural housing? Is there a preference for municipal workers? Do we have options for regional trusts? So we're really awaiting the regulations on that. The BSO, Berkshire Theater Group, Atlantic Shakespeare and Company, there's a lot of folks looking at, cultural and artistic housing needs. And there's an opportunity for us to partner while providing a little bit of, a lot of times, like with Brushwood and Lennox, it was, it was something like a $30-40 million development that, the Lennox Affordable Housing Trust put 100 grand into. I mean, they just want to see that you have a little bit of skin in the game. They don't expect you to come up with millions of dollars.
I think it's like 60 million. isn't
Yeah,
it?
it could have been even more.
Very, very.
Or 30, I mean, there's $500,000 a unit at
It was
least.
like somewhere over 10 and under 100. Yes.
Yeah, I guess it was closer to 30, right?
All right. And we've talked about apartment house purchase, but in some ways I kind of like the idea of, well, this is just for brainstorm, but we don't have enough money to buy an apartment
No, we
building
don't.
right now. So but we can look at that in the future.
But we need to find, I think there's got to be a way to put the word out that we're looking for people to help us with this kind of thing, because we're not buying it, but we have to encourage other people to do this
That's
for
right.
the town.
That's right. And I believe we can set up our own gift account, and I would just encourage people to recognize, once again, that we'll be able to do more with more funding. CPC's, 4 or 5 years ago, Ray and then Erica and I, and Michael, kind of identified well over $1 million in unspent CPC money. That's now largely a thing of the past. I think that we can realistically expect, if we're lucky, 100 grand a year from CPC, if we prove that we have, now I'm lobbying Coke here.
Yeah.
But the idea of like kind of the largesse of having an extra big pile of money in CPC is past.
Well, isn't there around $1 million a year generated for the?
No, it's
No.
more like 400,000,
It's really low.
Oh, all right.
Yeah. And there's the open space bucket, and recreation is kind of part of that bucket. And then there's
Restoration.
housing, and then there's historic. Yeah, right. And so there's a lot of people going after limited money.
There were a lot of asks.
Another question is, has anybody ever heard of a affordable housing trust taking out a mortgage and using CPC funds as a way to back it?
Yeah, we talked about that a couple of years ago, where you can, if there was something like either land for open space or a housing thing, it requires a long-term commitment of funds that then impacts future years, appropriations. There was not much appetite for it. I brought it up with the construct, boiler issue back when we thought we could do the boilers.
Yeah.
But
For example, I know Liz has been talking about a property over on Park Street,
yeah,
and it's got 5 or 6 units in it.
5 units and I think an office.
Yeah.
I think we can, I just want to put out some ideas and make sure we capture them all today.
Right.
Okay.
The last one is something I would like us to think about, which is, when we first started this trust, Jay and I worked together, Jay Pekowski and I worked together to get the original trust document signed. And Jay was big on down payment assistance. And in the Berkshires, down payment assistance has worked best in relatively low priced, homeowner neighborhoods, Lennoxdale, for example. So, with the proximity to the Sonic River, some people, that hasn't been as an attractive place to own a home as some other places. So with down payment assistance in Lennox, has worked best in Lennoxdale, not so much in other parts of Lennox. The reason is, if the house is 800,000, somebody within the affordable income guidelines can't afford that house. What is 25 grand going to do? It doesn't do them any good at all. So there are places in the county, though, where houses are still affordable. There's North Adams, there's Pittsfield, there's Sandusfield, there's a lot of places. And I was thinking about it, we have almost no inventory in Stockbridge. We have even less inventory of places that could be considered affordable, and most of them would require so much work that somebody at that income level would be buying something that likely required massive investments to kind of bring it up to where it needed to be. And I was kind of thinking about the people I know here, look, I don't have any kids, but I know a lot of people with kids, with grandkids, a couple with great grandkids. And I often hear them say that they wish it was a little easier for their kids or their grandkids to stay here.
Yeah.
And it strikes me that if we were to do down payment assistance and someone were tied to like a parent or a grandparent who either currently lives here or who had lived here, or perhaps if they graduated from Monument and were from Stockbridge I don't know what the rules would be, but why not consider, if they have ties to Stockbridge, keeping the kids local, even if it's outside of the boundaries of Stockbridge? Yeah, so we could support down payment assistance, and if somebody is buying their first house in Pittsfield, that's a whole lot better than if they're buying in northern New Hampshire because they can afford it there. Yeah, I think from the parents or the grandparents' perspective, how do we basically help families kind of stay together and maybe create a little bit of incentive for somebody to stay here? There was recently two other points, and then I tie this up. There was recently a EMT and paramedic study that, we're working with the Collins Group, which is a UMass group. Hi, Jackie. And so, there's like ambulance services all over Western Mass. We're trying to figure out what they get paid. So we figure out for both like kind of the project around the firefighter combined EMTs here in Stockbridge and West Stockbridge and Southern Berkshire Ambulance, what is the competitive rate going to be for these things? An EMT now can make 60-70 grand a year, and that's only 180 hours of training. Paramedic can make $110,000 a year on average with a little bit of overtime. And that's 1,800 hours of training. And my point is that that's enough money to buy a house in certain markets in Berkshire County, if not in Stockbridge. And I think that one of the things we might want to look at is being a little bit creative, trying to keep families together, even if it meant not necessarily together here. And taking a look at down payment assistance with the broader context of just like, there's no inventory in Stockbridge. Why are you talking about? There's no way to do that in Stockbridge, but man, someone wants to buy a house in Sandusfield or in North Adams or in Pittsfield, more power to you. Let's help them out.
It sort of goes in line with the idea of regionalizing things. In other words, the county is full of towns that everybody looks at their own town, their own borders, their own school, whatever their arrangement is. They want to hang on to their own schools, all that.
Yeah.
We are going to have a wave of regionalization of things in the next decade because we won't be able to afford to keep things going the way they are, as much as people love it that way. And I think what you're suggesting is housing is a huge problem in our town. Maybe we can solve it for our townspeople by opening it up for them to go elsewhere and kind of regionalize our thinking about it. And the same restrictions might exist. I don't know if there are restrictions on down payment assistance in terms of what
I don't know. These are uncharted
it
territory.
might pay back into the system. I don't know if there are restrictions on the deed or anything like that. But in any case, I support the idea because I think we have to think on a bigger landscape on so many issues in the Berkshires.
Yes.
I did speak to Jane about this, and she really urged me to have you reach out to Fred Clark or Ananda Timpain in the Great Barrington Affordable Housing Trust, because they did a model of this. And I don't think it's exactly what you're talking about, like housing people outside of Stockbridge or outside of Great Barrington. But she said that they did a lot of research, and she thought that they would be a really good resource for you.
Yeah, I think that as a follow-up, we should figure out.
Yeah, we have met with Fred. He knows us, and it would be very easy to establish some additional conversation with him.
I think that North Adams, Michael tells me North Adams has thousands and thousands of empty homes. Now, some of them may have gone too far for something like this. Where new construction is so unbelievably expensive, and you can buy existing houses for sometimes a couple $100,000, you might really move the needle on something like this. And I would also point out, I reached out to both the person at Greylock and the person at Lee Bank who manages this program. They said, you know what, we're not looking for 100% of the down payment. We want the folks to have a little bit of skin in the game. But if it's a $300,000 house, a $30,000 down payment gets a 10%, but the minimum these days is 5%. So for $15,000, if someone saves a couple thousand, 3,000, we could put in 12. And that's where all of a sudden the resources we have could go actually pretty far. We have several $100,000 left in the bank. And at 300,000, the mortgage, could easily be around what some rentals are going for now. There's so little rental inventory, it's nearly the level of what it costs to carry a mortgage. And so I just feel like this might be something that is really worth taking a look at. I just feel like people like it if their family's nearby rather than far away. It doesn't have to be within some artificial border of where like the dotted lines are around these towns. Thoughts?
It's interesting.
Yeah.
I need time to digest this one.
Yeah, I don't know, we might have a catchment area that we're interested in.
Yeah.
North Adams seems pretty far away from
Yeah.
this, but
There's a lot of inexpensive inventory up there.
Yeah, no,
It's a first-time home buyer program,
Right.
so,
well, and
I've had friends looking for apartments and stuff, and
Oh,
North
that's-
Adams is the least expensive
Right.
around
Oh,
here
yeah.
in Berkshire County.
That's
you know,
Patrick,
yeah.
do we have any, as the Stockbridge Affordable Housing Trust, do we have any restrictions placed on us to be looking outside of Stockbridge to accomplish this?
Not that I know of, but we would need to look at the trust documents, because that was 4 years ago, and right now, this qualifies as a brainstorm that, there's a lot of folks in this world who kind of have a reason to say no. I would love to figure out a way to say yes, to a lot of these things. So how do we stay away from no and get to yes? But who knows? I'm not a lawyer. I don't even play one on TV.
So I would just to be sure that, I would just want to be sure before we, I think it's a great idea. But I just want to be sure before we invest a lot of time in it, that we're not restricted, because we are the Stockbridge Affordable Housing Trust.
That's right.
Therefore,
That's
we're restricted within the town limits.
Well, I think we should come up with some takeaways on what questions we would need to have asked and answered. But, I would just point out that, my parents bought here in 1960. When my dad died, after my mom, and when he died in the early 20-teens, he left the house to us and we were going to sell it. I'm not moving back, and I'm really glad I did. But one of the things that this does as a first-time home buyer is it lets someone start a career in a thing where they can get in and afford a house and stay here. And for people who care about intergenerational, home ownership in the Berkshires, starting with a house that might be a $250,000 house in North Adams or Pittsfield, and you want to leave your house to your kids or your grandkids, that is, as their income goes up because they're building their career here in the Berkshires, an opportunity to promote that intergenerational, home ownership. That is one of the few ways that people can afford houses in the Berkshires now, is if someone leaves it to them. But if you built your career in Pennsylvania or in New Hampshire or in Maine or in Florida, you're very unlikely to move back into your parents' house when your last, parent passes away. And I just kind of would encourage us to sort of think outside the box, I guess.
another question on these restrictions for the community preservation funds as to whether they can support the purchase of a home as opposed to a rental. They can.
Yes,
Okay.
that I know.
All right.
That I know. All right, so I wanted to put this out there. Did we miss any other ideas we've been talking about? Did I miss on this proposal any other ideas that we might want to include in this? Jackie, I'm sorry, here's the copy of what we just went through.
I missed it.
Yeah. Is there, is there other things we should add to this to sort of create an agenda for a brainstorming session?
I would suggest one thing. I know you have Michael Blaze named down here to kind of look at individual properties.
Yeah.
I mean, as we drive around town, we probably all see things and we go, geez, I wonder what the story is on that place,
Right.
And I think at some point we may want to make a list of those and maybe assign them to members of the committee to investigate, possibly contact owners, names, at least phone numbers are
I can
sometimes on
figure
that.
out that.
Yeah, okay.
Right now, we can't do a Google sheet or anything like that with the entire board, but two of us who are inclined could get together and share a sheet because that doesn't violate the open meeting law. So, I think, once again, I'm not a lawyer.
Probably true.
I think it's probably true that a couple of people could work together on something like that. And so, I think that for the next meeting, I think what would be great is if we get an update from the lawyers on these three proposals, the two proposals we have, we'll probably have the rotted deck issue come in from Heaton Court. And then I think that maybe we start to dive into this and hopefully if we get some folks talking about this because they've seen this meeting, maybe, maybe some folks in the public will have ideas to weigh in on their thoughts on this.
I would like to also put on, can I suggest
Yeah, sure.
for the agenda? I think we should do a website for this affordable housing
Okay.
trust, because I think it's a good way to reach out.
And get donations. maybe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so maybe a whole marketing plan thing.
Yeah, I think Fred Clark told us that the GB Affordable Housing Trust has a web.
They do.
Yeah.
And it's-
And how are have they gotten private donations?
I don't know. I haven't talked to him about it in a
Well,
while.
those people are not nearly as generous as the people in Stockbridge. So, just kidding, Sam, just kidding.
I did want to mention that I'm going to check back with Rebecca at Riverbrook because they might have that work coming up soon.
Yeah,
And
yeah. And can you follow up with Michael? And just, and if you have to call Jenny directly, at Harrington Heap, we kind of need,
we need some
Yeah.
guidance on that.
because they're trying to go,
They actually have a date in mind
Yeah.
for this work because they need to get
that's right.
all the residents out of the building. And so they have some kind of an outing planned, and that's the day
Well,
that
Michael
that.
told me all he needs is a yes from Jenny, and we can actually write the check. It's already voted through.
All right,
So, we just need to kind of get,
all right.
shake the tree a little on town council. Okay, so, I can't find, pens are back. All right, so we're gonna talk about marketing and websites, so a topic of much interest to me. Marketing websites and potential donations on the agenda for next time. All right, anything else that,
One other thing, maybe you talk about donations. When we get our tax bills or water bills or whatever, it will say, oh, you can put some funds in for elderly, for education. I think Affordable Housing Trust should go in there
all right, so
As-
basically a tax,
Yeah.
Another
tax
line in
check.
those-
Absolutely.
in those items that go out.
Yeah, yeah.
Because a lot of people would support that if they saw,
Or they. if
that's
they-
easy.
Or they'd at least be aware that we're here.
Yeah.
I mean, I think.
I like that.
Those
Tax
of us
check.
who are very involved, and there are a lot of people.
And that would be these would be recommendations to the select board. But I think these are all great ideas. In fact, I think that maybe if it's okay with you guys, I think that maybe what we do is have, a couple of meetings over the next month, one to just talk about marketing and one to just talk about kind of where we want to prioritize some of these ideas.
One thing that Terry has asked is that we pick one day and pick a time so that we get that slot all the time and we're not trying to buy with other.
I'd like, how about this 4:30 at Thursday? Because we forced us to keep the meeting short because the select board's coming in at 6. I like the idea of kind of an hour. After that, I get a little bit, So how about we do the second and fourth Thursdays for now, at least for September.
Okay.
And we'll maybe move to once a month, once October comes around.
So now you're talking about the 11th and the 25th,
And how does that work for everyone?
probably fine.
I think that's okay. I know I have a trip in there
Inbox,
somewhere.
calendar, hold on one second, calendar. September 11th is, no, that's August, September 11th. I'm free, and how about the 25th? So I can do, nope, I cannot do the 25th. I have a thing at 5 o'clock that night. So how about the, want to do the 11th and the 2nd of October?
Okay.
I'll be away on the 11th.
You're gonna be away on the 11th?
The second is Yom Kippur.
Oh, okay, let's not do that then. How about the 18th then?
And just do it back to back. That's okay with me.
The 11th and the 18th of September?
Yeah.
Well, Jan can't come on the 11th.
Oh,
And-
so
and
do I,
I-
How about we just,
I can't come on the 18th either.
oh, okay, well, then, how about we choose one? What's better for everyone, the 11th or the 18th?
The 11th is better for me.
And Jan, which meeting would you rather miss, the marketing meeting or the brain? I think the brainstorm is probably more important, obviously. So let's do the marketing meeting next, and then we'll do the brainstorm meeting at whatever the next
25th.
subsequent meeting is.
Oh, yeah, you couldn't do the 25th, the 18th.
No, we're not gonna, I don't want Jan to miss both of them. So we're gonna do the brainstorming meeting. It doesn't have to be a Thursday. We could do any other day of the week.
Well, it's
Jan-
not easy. It's not easy.
Why are we sticking to Thursday? I mean, how about the 9th? Tuesday, the 9th and, or the 16th.
And Jan, can you do either of those days?
Let's see, wait a minute. I want to get on the town website and see, we may not be able to even get in here.
I'm away from the 2nd through the 18th, so sorry.
Oh,
Hi,
for you.
I'm gonna say.
You can go.
good
Thank
night.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We
Thank you,
really
Sammy.
appreciate your support. Thank
All
you.
right.
Okay.
See you, Sammy.
Thanks, Sammy.
Tuesdays or.
How about Monday, the 8th? Or is that too soon?
Huh?
Jan, you want to do it the day before you go away, Jan? How about the 8th?
She said the 2nd.
I'm away.
Oh, you're
from
leaving on the
2nd
2nd.
through
He
the
leaves the
18th. Sorry.
Yeah.
She's leaving the 2nd of when,
the 2nd
September?
of September.
All right.
We might have to do one without her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, that's what I said. We'll do the marketing on the, how about we do
On the
the marketing on the 11th at 4:30? And you're coming back on the 23rd, you said, Jan?
No, I'm back the evening of the 18th.
Okay, so how about the last week, one day, the last week in September, or
Yeah.
the fourth week in September?
That'll work.
That's good.
So you could do that. And who couldn't do the 25th?
You.
Oh, yeah, that was me. Okay, all right. How about then how about the 26th or the 24th or the 23rd?
23rd is Rosh Hashanah.
Yeah,
How about,
And
Can you
as
do-
it's a-
26th is a Friday.
the
but
whole-
that would work.
26th is Friday. That's really hard for.
Okay, no.
Well, it's not that hard.
how about the 22nd?
That should work. You're coming back the 22nd.
18th.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, 22nd.
Everyone can do the 22nd? How about 4:30? And that'll be the brainstorming meeting.
works for
Are they
me.
both at 4:30? Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay,
And I'll just run this by Terry. And
all right, I appreciate
if
it.
I hear differently, you'll all hear.
All right.
Now that I'm on,
Any other
Yes,
check-in
yes,
to
it's
do on that?
26.
it was the IT guy, didn't do it.
Look forward to seeing you on Saturday, up on the hill. Congratulations. Yeah. Jackie is one of the speakers for Laurel Hill Day, everyone.
I know,
For the thousands of people on Zoom, so
Where is
if you're in town Saturday.
on Laurel Hill.
Are they gonna mow a spot
Yes.
for all of us to go?
Yes.
We won't have
Oh.
sticks all over us?
Can I make a motion to adjourn?
Motion adjourned. We have a motion on the floor.
I second it.
Okay.
Hey, we kept it to an hour. That wasn't bad. All right,
so
thanks, everyone.
Did we say the 11th and the 22nd?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
11th is going to be the marketing meeting, and the 22nd is going to be the follow-up on the presentation to them. All right, motion adjourned. All those in favor? Aye, Patrick. Aye, everyone. Thank you,
Aye.
everyone. Have a good day.